problem that we are trying to solve for is how to address the needs of youth, of students that are victims of trauma. This is a problem that I share not only from my professional leadership perspective, but also from a very personal leadership perspective. You know, I'm a product of Hartford, the city of Hartford. I experienced the school system, and with that also came several experiences throughout my own development around crime, around violence in my very own community. And so I know the impact that it can have emotionally and even physically on a student. And so stepping back and looking at it from a very personal frame, the personal frame of me as a student, I know that there were times that I was not able to access the learning that was in front of me, the teaching that was in front of me, and I also wasn't able to leverage or access the interpersonal connections that were around me. Because you know there was a lot that my body, my brain, my heart was trying to process, and as children, actually even as adults, we don't just wake up one day and know how to work through that. You know, there has to be a lot of intentionality in our classrooms, with our teachers, with our adults, with our families. Hence, it has to be a community approach. The intentionality around what is it? What is trauma? What does it do to the brain, to the body, to the heart, so that we can then be able to identify, okay, what are the resources that our students and the staff, the adults that interact with our students and our family, and even in the community, need to address and better meet the needs of our students, and hence our entire community. I know that there are what I call interdependencies, and so what happens, for example, in a community in Hartford, in a specific part of Hartford, has ripple effects, right? And this is a perfect example. Violence has a ripple effect into our schools, into our learning environments, and so what we have to I think do is start first by having what I call a shared understanding of what trauma is. And what happens when we can't identify that there is a symptom of trauma? I will tell you, I'm sure that there were times that my teachers didn't know, right, that I had experienced trauma in my community or violence in my community that led to some trauma. You know, it manifests in very different ways, which is why it's so important to have that one definition and understand how it shows up in very different ways, in how your body feels, in how you're able to express yourself, in how you're able to have relationships with one another, in how you respond to an experience that someone else might be having. It is very complex, but unless we start unpacking the definition and how that plays out for all of us, we're not going to be able to improve as a city. Initially I want to see that perhaps ideas around a process for using the technology. We know that if a certain emergency happens and our students witness the trauma, that there is a coordinated approach and process, protocol for letting the school district know that something happened, which then it means that we then trigger, if you will, our response in the school system. But beyond that, and more importantly than that, I am hoping to see ideas about the how is it that we can address the trauma. So I'm hoping that we get some ideas, because I think those ideas are transferable not only to the school district, but to other community-based agencies, other citywide departments. If we know that a student has faced violence and is experiencing trauma, we know that we have to also tend to the adults that are going to serve on behalf of the student and that are going to try to meet the needs of the student. And so there's a level there of care that has to happen, not only for the immediate victim, the student or the family and the community, but to all of those that are also supporting the student, the family, the school, which is why then I'm looking for broader, more systemic ideas as to how do we do this, not only inside our schools, but throughout the city. We have the privilege of educating the adults of tomorrow. We have the privilege of educating the leaders of tomorrow. And so it is important for us as a community, as a city, to really galvanize and leverage and collaborate around this one opportunity. Because if and we should get it right with our youth, think about the city that we can become. We need thinkers from a variety of places. We certainly need our social workers, our clinicians. We need our teachers. We need our community-based providers. We certainly need the voice of our students. We want to have as many thought partners as possible so that we can find a variety of possible solutions to the problem that we want to solve.